So you're a Chevy or GMC owner, and that dreaded check engine light pops on. It's the sight nobody wants to see. But what if the code it's throwing is a P0016? Well, that's a serious one. In this explanator, we're going to decode exactly what that means, why you absolutely cannot ignore it, and how you can start to figure out what's wrong. All right, let's dive in.
We've all been there, right? That little sinking feeling in your stomach when the check engine light glares at you. You're hoping it's something simple, maybe just a loose gas cap. But then your scanner spits out P0016. That's not just a suggestion, that's your car sending out an SOS. So what on earth is it trying to tell you?
So what does P0016 actually mean? Well, in a nutshell, it means there's a serious communication problem. Your engine's computer has figured out that the crankshaft and the camshaft, two of the most important rotating parts in your engine, are no longer in sync. It's kind of like the brain and the lungs of your engine have fallen completely out of rhythm with each other.
And let's be crystal clear about this. This is not a suggestion. This is a 5-alarm fire drill from your car's computer. Ignoring a P0016 code and just continuing to drive is a massive gamble. You're risking what's called a piston-to-valve collision, which is every bit as destructive and expensive as it sounds.
To really wrap your head around this, just imagine your engine is a finely tuned orchestra. The crankshaft, that's your rhythm section, the big drums providing the powerful, foundational beat that drives everything. And the camshaft, that's your lead instrument, precisely controlling when the engine breathes by opening and closing the valves. If their timing's off by even a tiny bit, the whole beautiful piece of music just grinds to a screeching halt.
Okay, so besides that angry little light on your dash, how else is your car trying to get your attention? Let's talk about the symptoms, the things you can actually feel and hear when you're behind the wheel.
You might feel the whole car shaking or running rough when you're just sitting at a red light. You could get some scary engine misfires, a big drop in power, or your vehicle might even throw itself into limp mode just to prevent more damage. In the worst cases, you'll turn the key, the engine will crank, but it just won't start. And then there's that sound.
If you hear a rattle, especially when you first start the engine, you need to listen up. That is not just some random noise. It's very often the sound of a stretched or loose timing chain literally slapping against its housing. It's a huge flashing neon sign pointing directly at the #1 cause of this code.
Now that we know the signs, it's time to put on our detective hats. See, the P0016 code doesn't just name one broken part. It tells us there's a problem somewhere in a whole system. So we need to go through the list of usual suspects to find our culprit.
So, when we look at what usually causes this, one suspect stands head and shoulders above the rest. The timing chain and its tensioner. That's the biggest piece of the pie by far. But we also have to investigate the variable valve timing system. You'll hear it called VVT, as well as the sensors that monitor everything, and believe it or not, even something as simple as your engine oil.
Yeah, more often than not, you're looking at a physical, mechanical failure. Over thousands of miles, a timing chain can actually stretch out, or the tensioner that's supposed to keep it tight can fail. When that happens, the chain gets loose, and it can even jump a tooth on one of the gears, which throws the engine's perfect choreography completely out of whack.
But hey, it's not always the chain. The problem could be something like a clogged VVT solenoid, or maybe a sensor that's feeding bad information to the computer. It could even be damaged wires. And here's the kicker. Low or dirty engine oil, which is totally preventable, can clog up that VVT system and trigger this exact code. You could even have a damaged reluctor wheel. That's the little toothed ring the sensors read.
Okay, so we've got our list of suspects. Now what? How do we narrow it down and find the real problem? You need a game plan, a clear, step-by-step diagnostic process that always starts with the easiest and cheapest things first.
You want to think of this like a funnel. We start wide at the top with the super simple stuff, and we slowly work our way down to the more specific, more involved checks. You always start with the oil, then you look at the electronics, then you test the components, and only after all that do you dive into the mechanical guts of the engine.
And I can't stress this enough. Step 1 is absolutely critical. Your fancy variable valve timing system uses oil pressure to work its magic. If your oil is low, or if it's old and full of gunk, it can easily clog the tiny passages inside those VVT solenoids, and they just stop working right. This is why getting your oil changed on time is so much more than a friendly reminder. In this case, it might not just be maintenance, it could be the entire fix.
Now, if the simple stuff doesn't pan out, the investigation has to go deeper. This right here is what a mechanic is looking for when they pop open the engine's timing cover. The gears on the crankshaft and the camshafts have these special little marks or dots on them, and when the engine is in the right position, those dots have to line up perfectly. If they're off by even one tooth, like you see here, well, you found your smoking gun. That's a mechanical timing failure, case closed.
And this brings us to a really important point. While some of these checks are pretty straightforward, others require special tools, a ton of know-how, and a lot of patience. Knowing when to put the wrench down and pick up the phone to call a pro is a skill in itself.
So here's a pretty simple way to look at it. Checking your oil, looking at the wiring for any obvious breaks or corrosion, that's stuff most of us can handle in our own driveway. But once you're talking about taking the engine apart to physically look at those timing marks or actually replacing a timing chain, you are firmly, without a doubt, in professional mechanic territory.
And the whole reason you start with the simple checks really just comes down to money. I mean, look at the difference here. An oil change is cheap. Replacing a bad sensor is, okay, a bit more, but manageable. But a full timing chain job, that is a major labor-intensive surgery for your car, and it comes with a price tag to match. You always want to rule out the small stuff before you commit to the big, expensive fix.
So look, the P0016 code is serious business. And yeah, its most common cause is a pretty expensive mechanical repair. But as we've just seen, sometimes the solution is hiding in plain sight. It's why following a diagnostic process is so critical. And it leaves us with one heck of a final thought. Could taking just 10 minutes to do a basic oil check actually save you from catastrophic engine failure and a $2,000 repair bill? It's a powerful reminder to never, ever overlook the simple things.